The above-ground rail line switches to an underground line without warning. The train dives into the darkness, spewing artificial light. I still listen to the creaking of the train car. Artificial lights pass by at irregular intervals. As my seat vibrates in time with the second hand of the clock, I think about the passage of time and space. It's early morning, 6:33 a.m. Half an hour had passed since I got on this train. I can't go back anymore. All this time and distance is now keeping me apart from the family that took care of me all these years. How I accept this may be a measure of the depth of my compassion as a human being. Despite our physical distance, do I think of them as still being close? Or have I written them off as part of the past? I wonder which of the two I feel. I ponder it for a moment and then realize I don't feel either. I'm the only one on the 8-person train, on the 8-person bench, and the row facing me is entirely empty. The only passenger are a man in a suit dozing off in the next row over, and a girl standing in front of the door. Because it's such an early morning train, it's very lonely inside the train car. For some reason, I'm not really aware of the clatter of the train. It must be because I'm so absorbed in my thoughts. Daydreaming, I picture a spaceship flying through the dark void of space. The noise of the chaotic outside world does not reach me. All that's here is my own worthless imagination, decided by heart-pumping blood and the memories of what happened just an hour ago. It came out of the blue. Tono Makihisa had passed away. Tono Shiki is to return to the Tono household at once. The telegram sent from my original household, whom I hadn't heard from in nearly 7 years, said something to that effect. They still have telegrams? So is this like way in the past? I couldn't go against a decision made by the main Tono family. I'm still a student after all, and I rely on them for living expenses. In an act of defiance, I decided to leave this morning. I decided to leave the morning of the day I had to return, rather than the night before. I just wanted to stay as long as possible in the home I had been living in up until now. It was my way of showing my respect to the Arimas. Arima? Last name sounds familiar. I think it's Miyako? Miyako Arima? Yeah. They might have only done as the main house ordered, but even though I wasn't related to them at all, they still accepted me as one of their own. Thank you for the food. Today's breakfast was delicious as always. Before the sun had risen, I had finished my breakfast, left the table, and paid my respect to the room that had been used to be mine. It was a meager way to express my gratitude for all the years I'd spent there, but if I didn't get these feelings off my chest then, they'd linger in my heart long after I'd left. Life with them had been nothing but cheerful. That's all the baggage I needed to take with me. When I left the Arima household, Keiko-san was the only one left to see me off. It was my own suggestion that I should be as quiet as possible as to not wake the rest of the family. Thank you for everything you've done for me. Please give my regards to Father and Miyako. Yeah! The person who had played the role of my mother for 7 years had a terribly sad look in her eyes. I had never thought I'd see her look like that. I know it will be hard living in the Tono mansion, but hang on there. You're physically weak, so don't be too reckless. I accepted her words of concern with an open heart. The past 7 years have been truly peaceful for me. If the Arimas didn't mind having me around either, then I couldn't be happier. After 7 years, I'm as healthy as a man can be. I may not look like it, but my body is rather sturdy, you know. Yes, you're right. The Tono family is full of special people, but your fearlessness is something uniquely yours. Your ability to take things in stride, even as a child, has always amazed me. She wore a pained smile as she spoke. I smiled back in much the same way. It made me happy that in Keiko-san's mind, I was still her child. That's sweet. You're overestimating me. I'm off then. Take care of yourself, Mom. Yes, I will. You take care too, okay, Shiki? Keiko-san not replying with a "see you" was something I expected. She sent me off with tears in the corners of her eyes, having already accepted that I would never return. This all happened just 40 minutes ago. It was a turning point in my life. It was the beginning of a new life for me, and the end of Tono Shiki's old one. The scenery outside is changing little by little. We must have passed through Yashirogi, a suburb across the river, and entered the urban area of Soya. The train starts heading up toward the surface. I feel it gently ascending the slope. My eyes, which have become accustomed to the artificial light, are rejuvenated by the sunlight. Ooh, big city. New life starts. The train rumbles on, providing a panoramic view of the city. Most of the city is still sleeping. Outside, the air is getting colder. It's an autumn morning in October, a time when all traces of summer had disappeared. Thinking about it, I've been gazing at the scenery for almost a year and a half. This will be the last time I see this view on my way to school. I think back on the last 7 years, which passed by as quickly as the scenery outside the window. When I was 10 years old, I recovered from a serious accident that should have killed me on the spot. I met Sensei. I started living at the Arima household. Then finally began the autumn of my second year of high school. The kind of special incident that Sensei warned me about never occurred, and as long as I wear these glasses she gave me, I don't see those lights at all. I believe that I've been spending my days living a precious yet ordinary life, and I have very high suspicions that will change in the future. But I don't know, maybe that's just me. Starting today, however, things are going to get a bit more serious. I'm returning to my original home, so it's not as though I'm heading somewhere I don't belong, but at the same time, something about it just doesn't feel right. I've gotten so used to an ordinary house that living in a place like the Tono Mansion is going to be a big hassle for me. I'm not looking forward to it at all.
だいたい学校より広い洋館とか想像つかないんですけど。
I'm amazed at the things I was able to endure as a child. Even if I don't feel anxious about it, the mere thought of being forced to return to such an anachronistic lifestyle makes me feel a bit overwhelmed. The train arrives at the large station and stops for several minutes. Since this train stops at every station, I'll have to wait for the next express train to pass by. There's no one at the platform. At this time of the day, I'd expect to see a few businessmen in suits around, but this morning is particularly quiet. The express train passes by on the next track over. Thank you for waiting. The next stop is... I hear a familiar announcement. The automatic doors begin to hiss closed. There are only 4 stops left until Soya Station, where my high school is located. Who's that? Oh, it's CL. Hello, CL. The woman who just slipped in through the closing doors is another student from my high school. Neat. She has a green ribbon, so she must be a third-year student. She looks vaguely familiar. The bag she's carrying probably contains something for her club activities. Our eyes suddenly meet. She's staring at me. Not only that, but she comes sauntering up to me.
おはようございます。朝からお騒がせしてごめんなさい。
あ、いえ、こっちこそすいません。ジロジロ見ちゃって。
The smile on her face made me apologize reflexively.
いえいえ、目立つようなことをした私に非があるんです。先輩として恥ずかしいところを見せてしまいました。でも、朝は弱いって話、本当なんですね。
She chuckles. As I'm standing there, stunned by her behavior, she continues.
ほら、私ですよ。先週会ったばっかりなのに、もう忘れちゃったんですか？
What was that?
あれ？シエル先輩。
In an instant, my memory is jolted. Of course she looks familiar. I've met her several times at school. Actually, there probably isn't anyone at our school who doesn't know CL Senpai. At some point, people started calling her the almighty senpai of Soya High. If there are first years who are in trouble, or who are troubled, she gives them advice and cheers them up. If there are second years who are lost, she'll guide them herself. If there are third years causing trouble for other students, she'll stop them from bullying their underclassmen. She's more dependable than both the teachers and the student council, so much in fact that some students even call her the true student council president. It goes without saying that when I ran into trouble last week, she helped me out. Man, I can't believe I actually forgot all that. She's right about me not being a morning person. Not only that, but it's very likely that my thoughts are a bit clouded by the prospect of returning home for the first time in several years. I have dialogue options. Neat. I have nothing to talk about her, sadly. Happy questions. Just carefully admire her since I have the opportunity. I have a few questions, sure. Suddenly, a question crossed my mind. Why is she riding the train this early in the morning?
でもどうしたんですか？先輩部活やってませんよね。こんな時間に登校なんて。
いえ、何を隠そうボランティア活動の帰りなんです。ほら、生徒会公募で公園のゴミ拾いがあったでしょ。あれをちゃちゃっと先ほどまで。
Aha, that explanation makes total sense. Senpai's the type of person that's always working hard for the sake of others.
早朝から30分だけの奉仕活動だったんですけどね。他の皆さんは一旦帰宅したんですが、私は面倒なのでこのまま登校してしまおうかと。
Senpai's bag makes a clanking sound. I thought it was something from her club activities, but it seems to be cleaning equipment.
おや、中身見たいんですか？先輩の持ち物をチェックするなんておとなしそうに見えて大胆ですね。
Senpai leans in close to look at me in the eye. Wait, her face, her smell, and so many other things are so close that I'm not even sure where to look.
いえ、そういうわけじゃなくてですね。もし折りたたみ式のほうきとか熊手とかなら珍しいなと。
ほうほう、私の万能高枝切りばさみも見たいと。よろしい。それでしたら放課後いつもの茶道部に来てください。あなたなら大歓迎です。
Tea ceremony club. I can't help but feel embarrassed hearing her say that with an infectious smile spread across her face. Unable to come up with a witty reply, the best I can muster is weak yes.
約束ですよ。ここだけの話、部費で購入したお茶受けが余ってしまいまして、日持ちするものではないので元気な男の子の協力が不可欠なんです。
そうですか。じゃあ予定が合えばぜひ。食べ物に釣られていくとか猫かって話ですけど。
Her smile is so friendly that I can't help but joke a little. The upperclassman with the green ribbon replies,
どちらかというとワンちゃんではないでしょうか。というか猫科はよくありません。最後まで頼りになるのは律儀で頭のいい犬科です。
I don't discount like that. I'm much rather a cat person than a dog person, but I like dogs too. She declares her oddly strong preferences with a pleased look on her face. Since we're headed to the same way, our conversation continues to roll on. We talk about last week's midterm exams, about the sports festival, which was reduced in its scale and only lasted a day, and about the cafeteria, where the menus had never changed, about the controversy between the students and the school over the use of mobile devices, which ends up being a bit of a downer. So we changed the topic and laugh about our impressions of the movie we had recently seen. So it isn't like the present day. So why do they still use telegrams? 15 minutes pass quickly. This is the universally beloved senpai that the rumors describe. She can really hold a conversation. I don't want to think about the fact we'll soon arrive at Soya Station, so I raise another topic. But
ちょっとうるさいんですけど。
who's that? As she points out, we had forgotten about our surroundings. We both bow our heads to apologize.
怒られちゃいましたね。
ごめんなさい。私の笑い声が大きかったんです。きっと。
Oh. After that, the conversation peters out. It's like the friendly atmosphere we had experienced up until now had been a lie. Everyone is just a stranger, and a silence peculiar to the city dominates the train. Our stop? The train arrives at Soya Station. It's just before 7 o'clock. It's a little early for school, and the city is still asleep. The station is quiet now, but in an hour, it will be full of people and cars.
今朝も交通量が少なめですね。最近 街の目覚めが遅い気がします。皆さん夜更かしなんでしょうかね。
Senpai says something strange while carrying her heavy luggage.
荷物学校まで持って行きましょうか。
ああ、いえいえ、お気になさらず。私は寄っていくところがありますので、ここでお別れですね。
Okay, bye. Senpai smiles and waves back at me as she runs off. She's so fast and so light on her feet that she reminds me of a frolicking gazelle. I almost want to break into a run as well, so as not to be outdone, but I have no particular reason to hurry. Besides, I have my own body to worry about. I'll just head to school at my usual pace. And then, the girl from earlier comes out of the ticket gate. She brushes past me at a fast pace.
見かけ通り軽薄なんですね。うんざりしました。
You're ugly, you're disgusting, I'm gonna kill you.
Damn. It leaves behind some scathing criticism. I'm stunned by her sudden rebuke. Apparently, I really offended her. From now on, I'll be more careful when taking the train or talking on the train. I may have unintentionally said something that made people uncomfortable. Well, even if you take that into account.
最近の中学生はおっかないな。
She's a middle school student? Jesus. I can't believe she'd dish out a compliment like that while simply passing by. It was almost like how the samurai of old used to casually execute peasants they passed on the road. Yikes. I walk to school a little slower than usual. By the time I'm within sight of the grounds, it's almost 7 o'clock. Students on their way to club activities are hurrying through the gate. They must be trying to make the most of the limited time they have before homeroom starts at 8 o'clock. I like the music. Soya Metropolitan High School. This year marks the 14th anniversary of the school's founding. It's a totally unremarkable high school with a moderate rate of advancement, passable extracurricular activities, and reasonably lax school rules. The only complaint from the male students is a very common one. Please improve the outdated uniform design. Our requests have been completely ignored. On the other hand, the female students' uniform was changed 3 years ago. The school thought that people would be hesitant to apply if they had to wear the old-fashioned sailor uniforms, so they did the best they could to compromise. The scenery is familiar, but something feels amiss. Everyone seems more hectic this morning. Teachers are running to the staff room with pale faces. An unfamiliar black car is stationed in the parking lot. The sky is bleak. I find myself imagining a funeral with no attendees, or a somber, funerary curtain stretching on and into the distance. I sigh at my dark thoughts. I decide to put this unpleasant premonition out of my head and make for my classroom. I enter the empty classroom. I sit down in my chair and kill time until morning homeroom. As I studiously dedicate myself to my prep work, the classroom begins to fill with people.
おはよう。本日の朝練無事終了のお知らせ。
あれ、一番乗りは私らじゃないんだ。どうの早くない？
ああ、あれか、ボランティア。でも今日だったっけ？やっば、俺サボったかも。
The students in Class 2C get along better than most. They greet each other cheerfully as they see one another before taking their seats. I have a chat with the students that have just come back from club activities. We cover everything ranging from last night's news, which has been so thoroughly discussed, there's barely anything left to say about it, to school gossip that's less than 10 minutes old. It might just be simple idle talk to kill time, but it's a necessary part of our routine. It's a light warm-up before the day begins. In this age of information overload, it would be exhausting for everyone involved if we only engaged in serious dialogue all the time. The atmosphere in the classroom suddenly changes. The harmonious chatter is replaced by fruitive whispering.
なら道塞いでんじゃねえよ、ザコども。朝っぱらから群がりやがって通行の邪魔だろうが。
Who's that? A Prickly and standoffish complaint echoes through the classroom. I know who it is without having to look. The guy that just shown up, the one responsible for casting a shadow over the classroom.
チーズ！グッモーニングメガネくん！
Hey,
今朝も新規臭い顔しやがって！まったくクソみたいな野郎ですね！
is this delinquent who long ago strayed from the idyllic spirit of our school?
おーい、挨拶どうした？人が珍しく朝から来てやってんのに、おはようの言葉もなしですか？むしろ朝からいてくれてありがとうぐらいの気持ちはないのですか？
ないよ。朝から恋顔見てげんなりしてるだけ。そもそもありがとうとかないし、お前のために学校に来てるわけじゃないし。
Damn.
何？バカ言うなよ。俺は遠野のために学校に来てるんだぞ。そんなの不公平じゃんか。
I'm speechless. Sometimes I wonder why I'm his best friend. Orange dyed hair and pierced ears, the mean look in his eyes, and his rebellious attire gives the impression of someone who's always spoiling for a fight. In this day and age, where the culture of delinquent students has died out, he's a free-spirited purveyor of violence. That's him, Inui Arihiko.
まあいいか。朝から教室に来るのはいいことだ。おはよう、アリヒコ。ついに出席日数を気にしだしたか？
いや、そこは別に気にしてない。まだまだ余裕はありますよ。今日は家に姉貴がいるんでサボれなくなっただけ。つうか朝まで鉄マンしてたんでいい加減体力の限界だ。
そうか、すまない。挨拶をやり直させてくれ。おやすみ、くずひこ。机にさっさと寝ろ。
何その冷めた反応。それが中学からのライバルに対する態度ですか？もっとこう熱い対応してくれませんかね？
なんで俺とお前がライバルなんだ。無軌道に行きたいんなら街で同行の死を見つけてろよ。あんまり構わないでくれ。
No, I've lent him almost 10,000 yen since middle school, and he hasn't given any of it back. That's not a rival anymore. That's just a normal enemy.
どうしてかな。遠野ってば俺にだけ冷たいよな。他の奴らには聖人君子みたいなやつなのに不公平じゃね？
なんだ、分かってるじゃないか。世の中公平なことってあんまりないだろ。
そりゃそうだけどよ。やっぱお前俺には特に冷たくね？
Arihiko sighs exaggeratedly. It's not like I'm being cold to him on purpose, it's just a natural consequence of how frank we are with each other. Although our interests and tastes are different, we're on the same wavelength somehow, I guess.
まあ、家から逃げてきたはいいとして。普段から夜型のお前が朝から出席するなんて、どんな風の吹き回しだ？ちょっと、いや、かなり普通じゃないぞ。
まあな、俺だってそう思う。たまたま目が覚めたからって来るもんじゃねえよな、学校ってやつは。ぶっちゃけもう帰りてえ。ああ、やっぱ学生には勉強する意思とか必要なんですかね。
He's certainly right, but when this guy says it, it makes me think that simply coming to school despite not feeling up to it is admirable.
そのあたりの議論は今度、暇な時に鏡に向けてやってくれ。俺が聞きたいのは、なんで街に行かないかってこと。カラオケでも漫画喫茶でも、時間潰すならそっちのがいいんじゃない？
そりゃあれだよ。最近は何かと物騒だからですよ。荒ごとこなすのもただじゃねえし、あっちには体力ある時しか顔出したくねえわけ。
物騒？
おお、遠野だって知ってんだろ、例のあれ。派手に出回ってる通り魔事件の話だよ。駅前のセンター街、
Spree
夜になる
killings.
と警官も巡回しているしな。
そっか。そんな話もあったっけ？
Hearing about it from Arihiko has jogged my memory. The house I'd lived in until yesterday is a few stations away from here, so I hadn't really been paying much attention to events surrounding Soya Station. Pretty sure it was all over the news though. If I recall correctly.
なんだっけ、すごく低俗な売り文句だったけど。深夜の通り魔事件だっけ。
連続猟奇殺人事件な。被害者は大抵若い女で、2日前に発見された仏さんで8人目。かつ全員の喉元にバツの字の傷跡があるとかないとか。
What the hell? It's so bizarre, I can't even picture it.
違うよ乾くん。殺されちゃった人はみんな体内の血液が著しく失われているだよ。
Who's that? Satsuki. I know you. We must have been talking pretty loudly because Yumizuka pops in front nearby to correct him.
ああ、そうだったそうだった。現代の吸血鬼かっていう見出しだったもんな、あれ。サンキュー弓塚、おはようさん。
乾くんもおはよう。ついでに言うと外傷には個人差があって、傷が全くない場合と損傷の激しいタイプに分かれてるだったかな。
詳しいんだね、弓塚さん。
そんなことないよ。この街で起きている事件なんだもん。ニュースを見てれば嫌でも覚えちゃうことだと思う。
とま、そういうことだよ遠野。いくら俺でもな、夜中に殺人犯が出歩いているうちは夜遊びなんざしねっての。最近は真面目に家の中で夜更かししてるわけ。
なんだ、そんな理由だったのか。まともすぎて逆に意外だ。殺人犯に怯えて家にこもるなんてお前らしくもない。
らしくないじゃねえよ。普通は殺人犯に怯えるだろう。こっちはやる気がねえのに、あっちだけやる気満々とか不意打ちにも程がある。絶対にごめんだね。俺はまだ人生棒に振りたくねえ。
ああ、そっか。そうだよな。狙われたらとことんまで付き合うしかないってことだもんな。
お前ねえ、そこは逃げるって選択肢はねえの？なんでとことんまで付き合うんだよ。
だって逃げられないんじゃないのか、そういう場合って。
遠野に振った俺がアホだった。
They're good
実際の
friends.
話、俺も殺人犯は気にしてねえ。ああいうのはほら、天才だろ。出会っちまう方に運がない。俺が街に出ないのはもっと現実的な理由でさ。最近北口駅前で新手のバカどもが湧いてんだよ。正直顔も見たくねえ。
North of the station. That's downtown. Same general area as the business district. At night, it's bustling with lots of people and traffic. Arihiko also lives over that way. So if he's avoiding these new idiots, they must be a pretty dangerous group indeed.
遠野も聞いたことねえか？度胸試しのようなもの。秘密の入り口から地下道に入って奥までつければ大金が手に入るってやつ。
それなら私も聞いたことあるけど、それってただの階段じゃなかった？
ああ、結構昔からある都市伝説だったらしい。それを儲け話っぽく仕立てて利用してるバカどもがいるんだよ。どっから流れてきた新参者か知んねえが、おかげで北口の空気の悪さはシャレにならねえ。ちょっとしたことで殴り合いが始まるからな。俺基本的に痛いの嫌だし、あんだけ派手にやってればポリも動くだろうし、連中が捕まるのでしばらく自重して家にこもってんのよ。
An urban legend circulating around the north side of the station. I'm no local, so I can't say I've ever heard of it. I guess that's something else I have to start paying attention to starting today. I guess so.
なんだよ、反応薄いな。さてはあれか？朝から貧血でぶっ倒れたのか？
いや、今朝はまだ大丈夫。心配してくれるのはありがたいんだけどね。そう四六時中貧血を起こしてたら体が持たないよ。
ああ、そりゃもっともだ。遠野が大丈夫だって言うんならまあ大丈夫なんだろうよ。
ほら、授業が始まるぞ。早く席に戻って寝ろ。
はいよ。と、そうそう、今日の昼飯な、食堂でするからな。驚きの特別ゲストをお呼びしているので楽しみにしてやがれ。
You know, kind of looking at your portrait, you really do look like Shura a little bit. I mean, I think your hair color is like slightly different, but and it's a little longer, but he kind of looked like him. Still a little bit. Arihiko snickers as though plotting something and returns to his seat.
それじゃあね、遠野くん。
あ、うん。弓塚さんも付き合わせて悪かったね。
With quick, light steps, Yumizuka returns to her seat. 5 minutes after the bell signaling the start of homeroom, our teacher Toyoma-sensei still hasn't arrived. Just as homeroom is about to end, the teacher next door comes in and announces that Toyoma-san is absent.
やったー
Toyoma-sensei.
今日の数学実習じゃん
Someone in the class shouts in victory. Toyoma-sensei is our math teacher. If she's not here, today's class will be self-study. So long as we complete the assignment printouts, we can spend the rest of the period as we please. Some students use it to study, others to slack off. I start to work on my math problems. When I was a child, I was told that it would be difficult for me to enter a prestigious school with my body, so I stopped attending cram school, but studying itself was still interesting. It doesn't hurt to have a good education, regardless of whether you go to college or into the workforce. After solving a few application problems, I look up and notice some students in the hallway. Since my seat is far away, I can only hear fragments of their voices.
やっぱり信じられない。
朝練の時、先生たちが結相会で職員室に。
Did someone die or something?
まだ噂だから。
でもそんな簡単に
ひどいよ。なんでそんなことに。
I furrow my brow, thinking that the worse my premonition is, the more likely it's come true.
昨日の事件
校長室に刑事っぽい二人組だ。
I brace myself for what's coming next. It's something I'm used to, but I breathe in and wait for the words so that I don't dismiss it as something natural.
だからさ遠山昨日死んだらしいよ
Yikes. Oh, I saw the lines for a second. I closed my eyelids gently, as if blocking out my headache. The rumors about Toyoma-sensei didn't spread very far, and our morning classes ended without incident. It's lunchtime, and the classroom is bustling. Some students have left for the cafeteria, others for the courtyard, and the rest are spending out the packed lunch in the classroom. Now then, where should I have lunch? I should go to the cafeteria, yeah? Arihiko suddenly disappeared at the end of the fourth period. He must have gone to the cafeteria to reserve a seat for us. Although I didn't promise to go to the cafeteria, I feel uncomfortable disregarding his kindness. I'll have lunch in the cafeteria today. Let's go! The cafeteria is almost full. There's a 10-minute queue to order. Arihiko and I sit at the table, watching the other students line up with meal tickets in their hands.
それで有彦、特別ゲストって誰？
それがまだおいでになされぬ食堂で待ち合わせだったんだがちょっと待っててくれ様子を見てくる
Oh, brother. Arihiko leaves his curry udon and runs away from the table. I opted for chikara udon today. I hope he comes back before the noodles get soggy.
ダメだ先輩どっか行っちまったらしい
ゲストって3年生だったのか？
おお面白い先輩だなここ数日アタックしてようやくランチご一緒ツアーまで取り付けたんだよ今日は他に約束ができたとかで学校中を走り回ってるらしい
忙しい人みたいだね、どうも。
忙しいっていうか全自動マッサージ機みたいな人だ
Is it who I think it is? Arihiko splits his chopsticks, seemingly disappointed.
ま今回は仕方ねえわなじゃいただきますと
はい、いただきます。
We both suck into our udon, still likening someone to a fully automated massage machine. It's interesting. It makes me a little curious. I'll ask him about that next time.
で、本当のところどうなんだよ。
だって何が
今日お前が朝から教室にいた理由。いちこさんが家にいるって嘘だろ。あの人、今昼間の仕事に就いてるじゃんか。
In between bites of my chikara udon, I pose a question to the man across from me. Ichiko-san is Arihiko's older sister. She's one of those mysterious working adults and has taken care of me in the past.
ああ、そっか。バレるか。まあ、そのなんだ。殿、今日から実家に戻るのか？
そうだけど、その話したっけ？
してねえよ。俺は姉貴から聞いただけ。それでだな。殿がブルー入ってないか、ちょっと確認したくなってな。
そうか。それで成果は？
早起きするほど面白い見せ物じゃなかったぜ。がっかりですよ、がっかり。
ご期待に添えず申し訳ない。ほんと、有彦は暇人だな。
暇人だからゴシップ好きなんですよ。殿さ、小学生の自分からよそに預けられてたんだろ。どんな理由かは知らないが、それから7年も経つんだ。なんで今になって感動してた息子を呼び戻すんだよ、お前さんの父親は。
感動されていたわけじゃない。なんとなく屋敷から出るように言われただけだ。
遠野君、君ね、なんとなくで子供を家から追い出す過程があったら、それは悲劇じゃなくて笑い話ですよ。ただし、ほら一歩手前、寒すぎて笑えねえけどな。
Ahahaha, laughs Arihiko exaggeratedly. One of his strong points is that he never takes things too seriously. Truth is, even before I was involved in a car accident and hospitalized, my relationship with my father was already strained. The Tonos have been a prominent family for a long time, and their way of life is far from the norm. What I remember from my childhood is a huge Western-style building, and the pressure of my family's traditions, which were locked in the time to match it. The Tono family is extremely wealthy, and a shareholder in several companies. My father, Tono Makihisa, was apparently a mediocre businessman, but the assets he inherited from his grandfather were strong enough to keep the company running smoothly. An anachronistic building, the life of the upper class, where everything revolves around decorum and history. As a child, I couldn't help but be bored by the lifestyle inside that mansion. So when I was told that I'd be entrusted to the Arimas, I accepted without much resistance. I think it was for the best in the end. I got along well with the people of the Arima family, and I treated my stepmother Keiko and stepfather Fumiomi as if they were my real parents. I had always longed for a normal family, which is why Tono Shiki lived with the Arimas as though he were their actual son. Did he talk to himself in the third person there? I don't think there was anything to regret about that. Well, there is one thing. I can't help but feel bad about leaving my younger sister Akiha behind at the Tono mansion. Akiha must hate me, hate Tono Shiki. I mean, she has every right to. She was left alone in that huge mansion, living with my hard-headed father. It's easy to imagine how she feels about me running away from her.
そうだな。確かに、なんとなくで家から追い出されたら、そりゃ笑うしかない。
だろ？おまけに二度と敷居はまたぐなっていう決め台詞付きだ。世間様ではそういうのを感動って言うんだ。今まで聞かなかったけどな。お前、なんで感動されたんだ？
I wonder. The problem is that I don't have the answer for that question myself. It might have been a series of bad coincidences. Well, I must have been unlucky in many ways.
ま、話したくないならいい。
Arihiko lifts his bowl with his hands and chugs the broth. Lunch break is short, so I decide to follow his example and finish my meal as quickly as possible.